Real talk, real topics. Real talk, real topics. In an hour five, on that borderline, El Paso.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Real Talk, Real Topics. I'm Julian Morales, and today we have a very special guest, and he's all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. He is a part of Real Talk Youth Impact Program out there in Las Vegas. For those of you that don't know what Real Talk Youth Impact Program is, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that takes ex-offenders who are willing to share their story. We have it consists of a 3-class program with parenting groups as well. The felons speaking life into the kids. Upon graduation, if the child fits the criteria and funding is available, Real Talk does offer a $150 allowance per child per month for any after school activity of their choice. We're all a group of men and women just trying to make a difference in this community and in this world. So I'm going to bring on our guest. That way he can introduce himself to y'all. And his name is Rogelio Payan. And Rogelio, go ahead and introduce yourself.
How you guys doing? My name is Rogelio Payan. I've been a product of the streets since I was 12 years old. I've been in and out of the system since I could even remember. I've done so much wrong that I forgot how to do right. So that's why that's why I got involved in helping kids, because I took away so much from the city that it was time for me to give. There's two people in the world, givers and takers. My whole life I've always been a taker.
Yeah.
So the Lord softened my heart up, and He made me feel the weight that I was carrying of all the wrong that I'd caused in the streets. That now that I don't want to see another child go through what I did.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, and I like the point you made right now. Right, is you're a giver or a taker. I actually just went through a lesson, and what I took out of it is in this world you have two choices: is to build or destroy. Right, and
Correct.
unfortunately, when we were out there, we were destroying the fabric of our communities and the the people around us. You know what I'm saying? So Roger,
Correct.
so you grew up there in Las Vegas your whole life?
Born and raised right here in Las Vegas, but my family migrated from El Paso.
Oh, nice. I remember you touching on that when we met. For those of you that don't know, so Roger does do public speaking there, and he's involved heavily in Christian ministry, and he's on the streets, and then he's involved with Real Talk Youth Impact Program as well. And I had the pleasure of meeting him a few times already that I've been up to Las Vegas, and I was dying to get him on the show because I know he's real, he's authentic, and he speaks from his heart, and that's something rare to find these days. But I find it easy when people that have been through the fire, like Rogelio, people that have been through it, like all of us that are involved with Real Talk, we find it easier to speak about because we want to make that change. Now, Roger, Rogelio, how long did you do in prison, and was it federal time or state time?
I've done both. I did state time. I did 3 years in the state and 10 years in the federal system, and I'm currently under federal probation for 5 more years, with 7 years hanging over my head right now.
Oh, wow, and that's the charge that you were pending while we were up there, correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, uh, basically what happened is everything that I dedicated my whole life to, the gangs and the people that I associated with, that I was willing to die for, willing to go to prison for, they turned their back on me and they set me up and they made me catch a case, and they put they put the law on me, Homeland Security, SWAT team, and everybody and whatnot, and they came and got me when I was first time in my life, Julian. I was innocent and nobody wanted to believe me,
Yeah,
and that's hard to swallow, when you're innocent and nobody believes you,
yeah.
and go ahead.
Rogelio, so what? I had a talk with Gordon about this too. Is it sucks that we paint this picture of ourselves, right? And like you said, nobody believed me when I finally was innocent, and it's because all the stuff that we've done before, like you had said, we've caused all this destruction, right? So nobody wants to believe that, hey, we really are innocent because of all the stuff that we've been doing, right? And
You're right. Basically you knit a jacket, and once you finish knitting the jacket, you got to wear it.
yeah,
You got to
yeah.
wear it. Good or bad, you got to wear it.
Yeah, that's what I tell the kids is what you're putting out is what people are going to take a perception of you. And unfortunately, when we do change, because I know I've gone through this, and I'm pretty sure you have. I'll let you speak on it. Is when you do change, and you're taking those steps. I think the hardest battle is having, not that people need to believe in what you're doing, because we're doing it because we want to, right? But those people that you want to be like rooting you on, they're the hardest ones to get on your team, right?
Oh man, I find it more easier to get credit from people that I don't know than from people that I do know, because they just they don't they can't see beyond the person that I used to be. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So they're like, no, man, come on now. Well, you're just playing right now. You got to go to. Are you going to court? Are you going in front of the judge or something? I said, no, this is what I do. This is life choices. You know what I'm making. He says, no, no, tomorrow. Let me talk to you tomorrow because right now you're tripping. And they just don't believe. But there's others that support you, and you know what I mean. And but like one thing I've learned and I've experienced not too long ago is that no, it doesn't matter how much you changed or even how many years you changed or how long you've been doing good. You never can run away from the image that you created for yourself. And
yeah.
and Julian, I just had an incident a couple of weeks ago where in my own home I was dragged out of my house by police because they came to the wrong place, and I answered the door, and I'm covered in tattoos, Julian. So,
Yeah.
automatically they assumed that I was the suspect. So they dragged me and my wife out looking for because they found a dead body in my driveway, and
Oh man.
and so you know what I mean. I come out like this big old grizzly bear full of tattoos, and oh no, oh my god, they just pulled. I had 15 guns pointed to my head, dragging my wife out, and at the end they found out that I wasn't the person they were looking for, and they didn't even apologize. Julian, they hurt me. They actually twisted nerves in my back from the way they mishandled me.
Yeah.
And it was funny at the time. I was being real serious because I looked at the officer right dead in his eye, and I said, "Why are you treating me like a common criminal?" At the time, and he just looked at me like up and down, like, "Really? Look at
Yeah.
you." You know what I mean? And at the time, I was being real serious, but later on, when I started thinking about what I said, I find it real funny that because the way he looked at me, he was like, "Are you kidding me? Look at you. You're covered from tattoos from top of your head to the bottom of your feet, and you're asking me that question.
Hey,
You
hey,
know what I mean? You're suspect."
you know what the craziest thing too is, we don't see ourselves in that light. We don't see those things on us anymore, right? Because we
I
know
don't.
because we know that, like the Bible says, we know that we've taken off the old, right? And we put on the
Right.
new. So we don't see that no more. So when I get that too a lot when people, I work at a doctor's office and I'm tattooed, but I forget I have tattoos. I forget I look that way. And when people look at me and they're all freaked out, and I'm like, why are they looking at me like that? But then I'm like, I have prison tattoos. You could tell they're prison tattoos. They're not street tattoos.
Right.
It's a whole different level of tattoo, right? So yeah, no, I get it. It's funny that we I get offended at times too, but then at times I'm like, I put myself in their shoes and I see a guy like me walking down the street, and I'm like, even I still do that now. Like, man, that guy looks mean. Like, oh wow.
No, I get it. I get it. Like, at the time I was mad at the officers, but I get it. You know what I mean? I put on these clothes, and this is how the world is going to look at me no matter what. I can change. I mean, if they get to talking to me, they can see that I'm an intelligent person that can have an intelligent conversation, and it's not sounding ghetto. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
two college kids talking in school. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't give you that chance. You know what I mean? And so I fight and I fight and I prove, and I don't got nothing to prove to nobody because there's only one person that I want to prove myself to, and that's God Himself.
Amen.
Everybody else's opinion doesn't really matter to me. You know what I mean? But my whole journey, my whole strive, all I ever wanted, and I believe I completed it. I says I wanted to change the whole opinion of the world about me because I didn't want to just die and be like, oh, you know what? That's just another hoodlum that just died. But I changed
Yeah.
my life, and I think I've done enough good where people can look at me and say, you know what? He started off slow, but he finished real fast. You know what I mean? Look at this guy. Look what he accomplished. Look what he done. So the world's opinion is different for me because the whole world just looked at me and was like, you know what I mean? Like that old movie, I feel sorry for your mother. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I felt like my whole life. But now they look at me and they see the stuff that I'm doing. You know what I mean? The stuff that when I was working with the mayor's office, when I the volunteered work that I do with Metro Police out here, or with the kids, or just going into rival neighborhoods trying to get these kids out of the streets. Because when I die, that's what I want to be known for. I don't want
Yeah,
to be known
man.
as a thug. You know what I mean? I want to be known as a person that went in enemy grounds and went into the gutters and dragged people out because no man should be left behind.
Yeah, no, I feel that, and Rogelio, it's funny you talk about that. You know, I had this talk with Cherie. Is you know, I want to change the course. I'm changing the course of real talk down here, and I told her the same thing. Is God's called me to go in to those kids that nobody wants to go and touch, that nobody wants to go and give their time of the day to, nobody wants to go give their ear, not even their ear, not even money, not just their ear to these kids and hear them out, and man, when you sit and listen, you know, we go to the school, Cesar Chavez Academy out here in El Paso. That's like the school they send you when you have felonies and stuff. And,
Right.
and and these kids, man, if you just sit and let them talk, and they're so hard and all, and looking at you when you're talking, and when you sit them down, and they just break down crying, they're hurt. They're just hurt, man. And nobody's willing to listen to these kids. And thank you for going out there and doing what you guys are doing. I know you and the other brother are out there doing
Andrew.
street preaching and outreach. Andrew Trujillo, right? And
Andrew Trujillo, yeah.
can you give us a little bit of information on that? What is it you guys do exactly? The name of you guys' ministry?
We're basically AGTOC, SOW, which stands for All Glory to Our Creator, Spiritual Optimistic Warriors. And we do it physically, mentally, and spiritually. And basically, what we do is we go to the streets, we go to where people forget these kids, where nobody wants to go to, where you won't drive at night on these blocks, and we go to these blocks and we help these kids. And our main thing is inside not trying to make them think the way how we think, you know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to convert them to my thinking. All I can do is bring the Bible to them and explain to them who Jesus Christ is and what He did for me. And
Yeah.
then if He could save a person like me that was so bad, caught up in the system, so bad that his own grandmother said that the wrong son died when my brother died. That's how bad
Oh
I was.
wow.
And I know I'm not mad at her because I agree it should have been him that survived and I should have died. You know, but it is what it is. So what we do is we go out to these streets and we have like a 12 step program where we concentrate on physically, mentally, and spiritually. We do exercise, play handball, calisthenics, or whatever we do like for the physical part. The mental part, we uh, we try to teach a like bullying, drugs, you know what I mean? Stuff that all of us kids were going through, but it was too embarrassed to talk to our parents about, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we talked to them about gangs, and we explained to them about the life that they're choosing. And I opened up my heart to them and to show them because I feel like I got to that brick wall where every gang member gets to because there's no beyond that one. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
it's a lot, but when you get there, you're gonna run into a wall, and that wall can mean prison or the cemetery, one or the other. But you're gonna get one of them, you know. And so
Yep.
we explained to these kids, and then we showed them, and we're just big brothers, you know what I mean? If they ever need anything, and then we got the spiritual part where we do Bible studies with these kids. You know what I mean? We teach them about the living water and what who loves them. And I know because most of these kids understand, they grow up and they see Jesus on the wall, but you don't even know who this guy is. You know, he's just on your
Yeah.
wall. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we explain to him what the possibilities this man could do because he changed my life. You know, and I try to tell them. I said I was never a Bible thumper or nothing like that. I didn't grow up on that stuff. I grew up serving the devil, not knowing I was serving the devil, but that's what I was growing up doing, serving the devil because I was out there selling drugs. I was hurting the people. So I try to teach these kids the right way. And through our program, we show them, and we're just big mentors. We're big brothers. You know what I mean? And we even go back to the hoods, and we try to save the drug addicts. So we try to offer them free drug rehab and stuff like that. To get them off the streets. Like me and Andrew used to always say, is that before we used to recruit for the gangs, but
Yeah.
now we recruit for Jesus.
Amen. Yeah, no, that's an awesome thing you guys are doing. Now you and Andrew knew each other from the inside or from the streets before, or did you guys come together through
Uh,
real talk?
well, here's the thing. Andrew is my big homie. from
Okay.
my in my gang life. In my gang that I used to represent, he was the big homie, and so he had a reputation about him that it was all bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The police, everybody knew him. So we never got to. We knew who each other were on the streets because he's older than me, and technically he's like the first person to ever be go to prison for my gang back in the early '80s. And like we never ran into each other because he was either in prison, I was getting out of prison, I was going to prison, he was getting out. It was so we never touched down. And then about 3 years ago, somehow and it was probably a good thing that we never touched bases with each other because we probably both of us together, we probably would have made a nightmare on these streets.
Yeah,
You
I
know what
can
I mean?
imagine. Yeah.
It would have been all bad because the way he was and the way I was, it was like hell on earth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so by 3 years, he was doing his thing on the side, and I was doing my thing on the side, and somehow God just put us in each other's paths, and then we became one, and then we started representing this group that we have, and then we came together, and then we both had the same beliefs, and now we just live off each other. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So we go out there together, and then like we always say, if we die in the streets, at least we dying for what God put us out here to do. So we're not scared to go to heaven because that's what's promised to us.
Amen. Amen. Now, you said you go into rival territories and stuff, right? So, are you getting any pushback from some of the younger gang members? Because I know the streets have changed. I know the code, has been broken, and there's no respect no more for OGs. There's no more respect for for um for the older, people that paved the way, even in the gang life, right? So, do you get a lot of pushback when you go into these
I
rival
actually
gangs?
don't get none because like right now I mentor a bunch of kids, and some of them are all are my rivals in prison gangs or prison or street gangs. You know what I mean? And I grab them and I hold on to them like they were my brothers. You know what I mean? Or if they're like
Yeah.
we were from the same neighborhood, I don't even care where they're from. You know what I mean? Like there was one situation where this one kid, he's a prison enemy, but he's never been to prison, but he's representing a prison gang kind of deal. And then he put something on his face that was disrespecting where I was from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love the kid from another gang, and he's another prison gang. And normally, if we probably were in prison, we probably would have went at it with each other or whatever, whatnot. You know, back in those days. And I looked at him and I said, "Why did you put that on your face?" He was like, "I don't know." I says, "Well, that's telling you that you hate these kind of people." He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, let me show you something." I lifted up my shirt and I showed him exactly what he hated. That I was the person that he hated.
Yeah.
I said, "Do you hate me?" And he was like, "No." I said, "Well, why would you put something on your face to represent that you hate this kind of people? But I'm right here, and ever since day one, I've been there to help you. I brought you money, I gave you rides, I helped you out, I did this, got you jobs. So why would you put something that you really don't mean? You know what I mean?" I said, "Because I'm representing what you don't like, and
Yep.
I'm here showing you more love than probably your own parents."
Yeah.
So, so that's why I try to explain to him. I said, don't get caught up in these street politics, the prison politics, man, because you never know who's the person that's going to get you out of the mud.
Yeah. Now, speaking of prison politics, now this was the topic that I wanted to get into, and I wanted people to get an idea of who you are and what it is that you're doing now, right? Before we got into
Right.
these conversations, because I want people to see the contrast of what we're forced into and not really forced into because we put ourselves in prison a lot of the times, right? 80% of the time we're doing the stuff to get us in there. So we put ourselves in this position and then we're in prison and then now we have to deal with some a whole lot different than what we're used to on the streets, right? So
Right.
a lot of the stuff that I tell the kids when they go in because a lot of these kids out here they hang out with different races. They have friends from different gangs, and they intermingle and they're hanging out, going to parties together and stuff. But like I tell them, man, when you go to prison, and it depends what you stand for, obviously. But if you're going to prison, you're obviously trying to live that life, and you're probably more than likely involved in some kind of gang lifestyle, or hooking up with some kind of clique, right? And
Right.
um and when you go in, the separation that happens, the change that happens as soon as you go in, how did that affect you going into prison? Um and I know it's different in the state than it is in the Fed. I know that, right?
Right.
And where did you do state time in Nevada?
Yes.
All right, so give me a little bit of detail on the Nevada. Some of the you don't have to go into detail because I know your ex affiliation and all that, but just some of the politics that happen as far as race relations and where you're able to hang out in the yard and stuff like that. If you can give me just a little rundown of the day to day that happens in there.
Well, well, in the state, you know, what I mean, I was never, I didn't grow up to
Or
be a
hold on,
racist.
hold on, Rogelio. How about this? I just got to your tank or to your unit, and I'm part of your clique. I just got there. What would be the rundown of the rules and regs and what life is like in there?
Well, if you were my peoples and you came in there, and before I could even accept you, you got 13 days to produce paperwork before you could even be accepted on the yard.
Yes.
You could be clicked up, but you're basically on probation because you ain't gonna be cleared until your paper says you're cleared. And it doesn't matter if we've known each other for 10, 20 years. You got something bad on your jacket, well, you're probably
Now,
gonna go walk to prison with your feet sticking out.
now, Rogelio, being cleared means no rape charges, child molestation, snitching,
No,
turning
correct.
on people's state evidence, anything like that, right?
Correct. You just have to have a clean jacket. You know what I mean? Well, as clean as you can because you're a criminal. You just can't have the hard stuff that's gonna make you go in the coffin. You know what I mean? Like you said, the ratting, the rape, uh, touching kids, stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? Or crossing out your own people at one time.
Okay, so then now I'm in the 13-day period. What else is the next rules?
Well, from the get go, from the beginning, even though you were on probation period, you got mandatory workout. You got to work out because uh, we don't we just don't take anybody in there. So you got to be from the beginning until the day you get out.
Warrior.
We're making you a soldier, a warrior for battle. Because
Yes.
what good are you for us if you can't go into battle? What good are you to us if we go to war and you run in the other way? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So we breed out the weak and only keep the soldiers and the
Yes.
strong because every day in prison is like walking on eggshells. And like I was telling you earlier, I didn't grow up to be a racist. When I was a kid, I had white friends, Chinese friends, black friends, and all of that. But as soon as I went to prison, prison made me a racist. It made me hate. It filled me with nothing but hate because it was I was told that I cannot deal with black people. I cannot talk to black people. I can't offer nothing to black people. I cannot smoke a cigarette from a black person or drink coffee from a black person. Basically, I can't do nothing but look at him and get out of his way or get out of my way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Basically, you don't exist. So so I became a racist because I only associated with my own people, brown people, and I didn't talk to white people no more. I didn't talk to black people no more, and I was like it just brewed hatred for me. You know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
just waiting because all those years it was still in my head. This is the enemy. This is the enemy. I'm like thinking to myself, I don't even know this dude, but in my head, he's the enemy.
Yeah.
And
Like you said, you're a trained warrior. It's just like going to the Marines or in the army. You come out as a killing machine, and you stand up for what the beliefs are put into your head. Right? It's the same thing for us as gang members. Is we're out there doing burpees all together, and we're all pumping each other up with the same fuel and the same thoughts and the. So yeah, you're gonna call the enemy, and that's gonna be embedded right in your brain. Is
it was for a very long time. And even though I was involved in one riot when I was in the state, and they the black race killed one of my friends, and they smashed his head in until his brains came out.
yeah,
And and I witnessed that. You know what I mean? I was right there on the front line watching this, so that made me hate more. You
yeah,
know what I mean? In my mind was, I'm not done until I take out three. You
yeah,
know, for your one, I'm taking out three. That's it, and I'm not stopping. You know, and but like I said, it just brewed hate and hate and hate. And I remember one conversation with my mom, and she said, and I told, and she knew how much hate I had for these people. Now she says, "Well, what are you gonna do when you get home?" She said,
right.
because your little primas are half black. You know, I'm like, and I thought about it for a second. And my only response, because the way I was taught in there, I was like, it ain't their fault. I don't look at them like that. I don't see that part. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I only see Mexican. That's all I see. And
Yeah.
like I said, it took a long time for the hatred to get out of me. You know what I mean? And it took actually it took the good Lord to soften the heart because,
And
like I
that's
said,
the only thing. Yeah.
I hated everything, including myself.
Yeah.
You know, and but yeah, the way they teach you in there is just, and it was the crazy thing about it is you're not really realizing that you're being raised and taught by
Yeah.
drug addicts,
Yeah.
and people, and then you're fighting to get their approval for people that don't mean 2 cents on these streets. You know what I mean?
Nothing.
In life, they don't mean nothing. That their opinion does not mean. I mean, a can of soda has better opinion than that man. You know what I mean? Because he ain't nothing but a heroin addict, a drug addict, and he ain't gonna be nothing but a coffin holder. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And but with there, all we're doing is fighting for that dude's attention, his approval. They're like, okay, you're down. And it took me a long time to realize, why do I need approval from a man that's less than me? You know,
Yes.
and I never got it, and I never got it. But growing up, I wanted that man's approval, and now if I think back right now, he's probably in a homeless shelter right now, probably doing nothing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Just
And
full
I'm like,
full of hate still.
full of hate and still kicking up stories from 1922 talking about I remember when I was a shorty. You know what I mean? Come on, man, miss me with all that, man. I got bills to pay. You
So
know,
so then that was in Nevada State, right?
correct.
So now going into the Fed, I wanted to ask you, did you ever get a chance to go to Oklahoma City?
I've I've been through there been numerous times.
Okay, now I've shared this experience with people, and it's not a proud story. I got my ass whooped. I got jumped. I got taken care of. But I wanted to get someone that's been there, because when I tell these stories and nobody's been there, they don't know what you're talking about, right? But you get off the plane and you go straight into the prison. Like the plane has a tarmac that goes straight into the prison. And I tell these people, they put you in these stainless steel rooms. And when I was black boxed, but they unblack boxed me. I don't know why. And they threw me in a cell that was regular. Everybody was in there with their shirts off, just in their boxers, and all my tattoos. And I'm the only one of my gang in that room. And the ops are there. And I got handled up. And this was just me transferring from one prison to another. I wasn't even gang banging, and I mean I was gang banging, but I wasn't, out there like banging it up. They took my handcuffs. I walked into the cell and these fools see my tattoos, and it was on, and I got handled up. Right? You know,
Right.
did you ever go through any of that there in Oklahoma? Because people don't understand. We
I
have gangs from all over the country.
right. I came like you. I was black boxed, and but when I straight came from the prison that I came from, black boxed, they stuck me in the hole because I had to, because the places I came from, I was involved in a humongous riot.
Yeah,
So I had to get cleared in the hole for the first week, whatever, and they put me to general population, and then as soon as I get to general population, of course they're playing with me. Uh, uh, I went to my cell, and of course it was a black guy. And in our politics is that I cannot live with a black guy. I cannot
oh,
even cross the line to walk inside that room. So the only thing on my only option is if it's to jump, because if I don't jump, my own peoples will jump on me. You know what I mean?
yes, yes,
Uh, I walked right in the room and I went to straight battle. I went to battle and I just started bombing on this guy, and he had no reason why. He didn't even understand why I was bombing on him because I had never seen a guy in my life.
yeah,
And I just started bombing on, welling on them, and they pulled me out. The COs pulled me out. And I said, "What's your problem?" I says, "This is you made this happen." He said, "Well, how did we do this?" He said, "Because you look at my jacket, you know what I'm not supposed to do and what I can do.
yeah,
So you put me in a situation. This is on you. That man's blood is on you, not me."
yeah.
And and so that happened that time, and I did the rest of my time in the hole. But the other times I went through there, I seen what you were talking about, and with everybody just everywhere, walking down on the bottom floor.
Yeah.
And actually everybody's like they're like animals waiting to see who they can attack,
Yeah.
who's enemy, who's not. You know what I mean? And and they're just it's like the wilderness. Everybody's waiting to see who's the enemy,
Yeah.
who's this, who's that, or whatever, or the first chance they can take off on a CO. We're like caged animals, you know what I mean? And Oklahoma it's a tricky place, you know what I mean? It's a tricky place.
Now
And
I saw you posted some pictures. You were at a Supermax. Um, you were in an
right,
orange. That was you were in a special housing unit at that time.
I was in the Smooth program, the special management unit.
Okay.
And they got that program in a lot of different places like Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
different places. It's starting to become more of a thing now because before they only had a couple places that they did that at. Now they're starting to have more prisons that they're housing the special housing the smooth inmates. And when I was in that program, I was in Louisiana, and that program is nothing but animals. Everybody's in there. So everybody, what I read in the newspaper, that program is labeled as the worst of the worst of the United States. And then when you're in this program, everybody's enemies. It could be like Texas against California, New
Yeah.
York against South Carolina. Everybody is waiting for a chance to stomp you out. Your next door neighbor it can be your rival, big homie rivals. You know what I mean? And everybody's there and just waiting for the first mistake that a CO does, so they can get you.
Yeah. While you're
And
handcuffed, that's the worst part is you're handcuffed.
I,
It,
I recall when you're in that program, you're walking around shackled from your ankles, your hands, your belly chains, everything. You're everywhere. You're walking everywhere shackled up like that, like an animal to your shower in a cage, and then they take off your shackles and all that stuff in there. Or when you go to the rec yard, you know what I mean? Like when I got put in the situation when I was in that program, I my homies, when you get there, everybody knows who's there, who's what. You know what I mean? When you got homies there, they already know you're already coming. And then they told me, "Hey, big, be careful, man, because we just went at it with the police. So they might try to set you up and put you in the wrong cage and
yep.
wreck, so you could get stomped out by your enemies. And
Yep.
and, and, and basically, if they do that, you only have one option: go in there and fight. Because if you tell the police you can't go in there, you just crossed yourself out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you ran to the police. Now you're protected custody.
Yeah.
So I remember one situation I got crazy with the lieutenant. Told the lieutenant, if you don't put me with my homeboys, you better bring the gooners in here because you're not going to get me out of this room. Everybody's going to take everybody to get me out of here. And
Yeah.
so he's like, okay, tomorrow I'll put you with your homies. So the next day I was like, okay, cool. So I go to the yard and they put me in a cage, and it was a couple fools from New Mexico, well, a couple fools from Texas. You know what I mean? They weren't affiliated or nothing, and but they're all blasted out. The fighters are all everybody was all blasted out from head to toe. So when they put me in this cage, I'm walking to the cage and I'm looking at them. I said, "Wow, I'm gonna get hurt." You know what I mean? I'm gonna get hurt. And then the cop looks at me. He says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm okay." He says, "Are you going in?" I said, "Oh yes, I'm going in."
Right.
He said, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're going in?" I said, "I am positive that I want to go in there." As soon
Yeah.
as I walked in there, they took off my handcuffs and I just bum rushed five people. I just started punching and punching and punching because I'm gonna get off the first ones because I'm gonna get hurt in the next minute. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
can't beat up five. And the crazy thing about it was there were associates of my people. You know what I mean? But they were running with us, but they weren't a part of us, so there was no problems with them. So they were like, "Hey man, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're cool with you dudes." I'm like, "I don't know you, fool. You're not cool
Yeah.
with me." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I'm protecting myself. And later on, my homies got out there and they told me, "What you do, fool?" I said, "Fool, I blasted on these fools." You know what I mean? This is what I'm supposed to do, man. You put me in a situation,
Yeah.
I'm gonna attack. You know what I mean? And but like that program is a real rough program because it's basically a prison inside of a prison. That's bad enough that you got kicked out of prison to get put inside of a prison inside of a
Yep.
prison. You know
Yeah.
what I
It's
mean? You
dirty
got to be
time.
pretty bad.
That's that
You
dirty
know what I mean?
time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a 2 year program. You just sitting there. You ain't got nothing to your name. No, you got to work your way to get soap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
It's,
I did 10 and a half in the Fed, and then I did 2 in the Texas State prison, and I would rather have done 20 in the Fed than 2 in Texas State. The living conditions. There's no air conditioner for inmates.
Oh,
Only the cop units, like the pods where they sit in the middle. Only they have AC. There's no AC in the whole unit. You don't sleep at night. Everybody's on edge, and then they wake you up at 4 in the morning. There's something called Ho Squad, and they come in at 4 in the morning and they yell, "Ho Squad, turn out!" And you got to jump off your bed, stand up, at attention. Now you go to work, but it's not like the feds. In the feds, you go to work and you make 17 cents an hour.
right.
In Texas State, you're working for your parole. If you don't work, you don't get parole. So
Wow.
you wake up at 4 in the morning, you go out, and I was down in Coffeyville, in Cofield, in Segovia. In Cofield, we had to pick cotton. I picked cotton for a year. They give you the plastic wraps that go around the mattresses, like in the county jail.
Right.
They take the old plastics and they put a rope and you put it around your shoulder, and then you bend over all day and you put the bag between your legs, and you pick cotton, bro. It's so hot, and your fingers are all cut up. They give you these cotton gloves to pick cotton through these viney things, and they're getting you just take the gloves off, and then you're bleeding. You go back in. It's so hot, Rogelio. You'd rather be outside in the 110-degree weather than inside of the dorm, because the dorms in prison they're either three tier, 4 tier, or you got like those hangers. They're like aluminum, and it's hot, and there's no AC, and you're dying. All day we would sit in front of the TV, have the showers running, and then every 15 minutes it'd be like a little choo choo train in between commercials. Everyone would go walk through the showers to get wet, come back, sit down, watch TV till the next commercial, go back through the water, and cool down. It was worse than the all the solitary I did in the feds, man. Their lights never turn off. It was blatant torture. And the governor of Texas has stated that, and we don't call Texas Department of Corrections, it's Texas Department of Criminal Justice. There's only justice being served. There's no correctional, there's no rehab, there's no, it's criminal justice. And he says, we don't get, oh, you don't get pillows. You don't get a pillow, and all you get is a blanket, bro. No sheet. You get a blanket. Um, it was the worst time ever in my life, and the racism in there, and not only the racism, but me being from El Paso is very different for me going into any prison system, because automatically they think I'm 2-1, but I'm not. I'm totally different affiliate from the Midwest. So when I went to Texas State Prison, my gang wears stars. That's our tattoo. And when I got to Texas State, there's some other guys here. They're called tango. They're kind of like the paisas, but
Right.
they're more of guys that don't want to get into a car, basically. And they came into my cell right away, and they're like, "We're gonna take those stars off." I'm like, "Shit, you got to come in, and take them off yourself. Then come on with it." So outnumbered, there's none of my people are in Texas State Prison, and what I tell people, that whole 2 years I was there, I didn't have deodorant, I didn't have toothpaste. Texas doesn't give you indigent. They give you a cone, those water cones to get water.
Right.
They fill it with baking soda. That's your toothpaste, and that's your deodorant, and you get one of those. And every 9 months they give you a new cone. I was
Wow.
indigent. I was indigent because I got transferred from the feds over. I didn't have any of my numbers with me, and then nobody, not even the raza, not even people from my hometown, wanted to give me any hygiene or back me up, because I'm from a car that's totally different. So I had to experience not only that, and then the black guys don't like me, the bloods don't like me. So I was by myself in the whole time of my state time, and it really, really, really messed with me. And it made me realize that, man, we really out here by ourselves for real. When you really think about it, and when you're put in those situations, people do cling to like tribalize or get into their groups, and then, like you said, they won't talk to you. You're not in my car. I don't know
To,
you, fool. I don't know you. So
to be honest with you, man, if I had to go through the stuff that you had to go through there, that would have brewed so much hatred in me that I probably would have blasted somebody just to get out of there.
no, it did. So what I was doing was I was taking flight. I wasn't taking flight on inmates because I didn't want to start a war between, because there was some Latin kings in the state in like different prisons. but I didn't want to start a beef with any other gangs for the little bit of people that are there. So I was taking flight on the officers and being put in the shoe, and that was okay because the shoe does have AC, but there's no freedom, and I had no money, I had no commissary. So I was like, man, I gotta ride this out because I would find every once in a while there would be a paisa that would be like, "Hey, tu gente de donde es?" I'm like, "No, my people are from Chihuahua." Like, "Oh no, yo también," and they give me a soup or a tuna. But in the shoe, yeah, all the gangs back there don't like us. So I wasn't gonna get anything. But I took flight on a couple cops and got moved from different joints. But Texas State Prison, man, when people tell me they've done Texas time, I'm like, California or Texas time, hands down, that's the hardest state time. With my Fed time, it was a lot easier. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but all in all, compared to the state, I would take the Fed anytime. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I like the state time because like when I was in the state, I went up for parole, and I was going from the state, and I was going to get paroled to the feds. So when I went to parole, they asked me, you're here for parole. You know what that means? I said, yeah, I know what that means. And they were like, okay, so what do you got to say for yourself? I'm like, basically, I said, screw parole, screw you, screw everybody here. And they were like, you're not going to get it. I was like, well, and give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay. I told him I didn't want it because I leave there where all my people were at. You know what I mean? And when I went to the federal system, I didn't run into many of my people from my hometown. You know what I mean? And from my
yeah,
gang and stuff like that. So I wanted to stay in a place where I was 30, 40 of us. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and
It's
and like I said, I like the feds, but it was just that it was just weird. The feds for me was just weird. You know what I mean? Because you got
a
people
lot of
from
politics.
everywhere. Yeah, a lot of politics. You got people from different everywhere. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to be a shot caller. Everybody wants to make a name for themselves. You know what I mean? So everybody's it's like a treacherous world right there. You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to cross each other out so they can look good for the next guy. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So it's like a dirty game. I was like, and I told myself, I said, I never grew up like this. I grew up if we rolling together, we dying together. But
yeah.
I got to worry about you just like I got to worry about them dudes. You know what I mean? And that's not what I signed up for. You know what I mean?
That's the hardest part being in a gang, especially a prison gang, is with us, there's a saying is your brother is your worst enemy, and 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 that's the worst thing because they're the ones that come take you out. They're the ones that turn their back on you, set you up because they don't like that you're moving up or that you got more voice than they do or more power than they do, and or more respect, and you carry yourself better, and then they hate, and then you end up dead, all,
Exactly. I mean,
all for
I
nothing.
came in I came in situations where I even told the homies, I'm like, man, fool. I said, that's the enemy over there, fool, not us. Why are we trying to cross each other out, fool? I
Yeah,
said, is it easier to cross us out than go in the front line against the enemy? What is that easier or what? You know what I mean? And I just don't get it. You know what I mean? I said, if I'm here, that means I'm riding with you, that I'm gonna die for you, whatever it is. And if the situation calls for it, I'll do extra time for you. And that's
yeah,
the way I was bred. That's the way my OGs taught me. You know what I mean? And and that's why the federal system it was just weird to me. You know what I mean? It was just like I didn't like it too much because it was just different from what I was raised. You know what I mean? And it had its good things and it had a lot of bad things. You know what I mean? Because I just never seen so much treachery. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's the I tell people it's the you get to see the belly of the ugliest things in this world in there, um, and it really opens your eyes and it shows you that everybody equally hates everybody, and it is so
I mean,
sad.
I was in a situation there, Julian. I mean, when I came from the state, and I was already bred with racial heat. You know what I mean? Because they just killed one of my brothers in the state, and so I'll get to the federal system, and I'm hating. I'm trying to rival up the homies. Let's go at it. Let's go at these fools. They killed one of the homies. This and that. They were like, "Hey, fool, that happened over there, man." I was like, "What you mean, man? He's still a brother, fool. It didn't matter if he died in Disneyland. He still died, fool. What's you know what I mean?"
Yeah,
and they didn't get it. And so I had a lot of hate towards a lot of people because I was like, what's wrong with these people, man? You know what I mean? If one brother, if he's right here or if he's in Seattle, it doesn't matter. He's a brother. You know what I mean? And so I remember I got into this one situation where this white guy started beating up on a paisa. And the way my OGs taught me is that you always jump for your raza, no matter what.
Yeah,
If another raza is putting hands on your raza, you jump in,
yeah.
and that's exactly what I did. I jumped in and I pounded this, out of this white guy so bad, and then my homies grabbed me and they were like, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? And they're like, I was like, man, he's jumping on my raza. You know what I mean? He said, he's a paisa. I said, so what? My tios are paisa. My mom's paisa. My dad's
Yeah.
paisa. What do you mean? I can't back up paisa? That's my blood. You know what I mean? They were like, no, and this and that. And make a long story short, I ended up getting a calentada because I jumped. You know what I
So,
mean?
so those of you that don't know what a paisa is, it's a person that's from, well, not even it started because they're people from Mexico, farmers, people that are like not into gangs, and then they just got like a coalition to protect themselves. They're not really like a they weren't really like a gang. Now their numbers are outrageous, but yeah, that's what a paisa is. They're the same skin color as us, same people, same blood. We just we're on two different lines of two different sides of the line, and it sucks. You know, as a ex Latin king in prison, that's one of our first rules is we're not allowed to partake in any racial riots, and that brings a lot of heat to us from the Mexican gangs because they're like, oh, you guys ain't gonna ride with us if it comes down to between colors, and we're like, nah. And then the blacks get mad at us because they're like, y'all not gonna ride with us if it like we can't because there's all of our brothers. We're called Latin Kings, but there's blacks, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and we can't jump on color, right? So
Right.
because of that, we have beef with the Mexican famas a lot because they don't like that we sit at the dinner table and there's black people there breaking bread with us, or there's Jamaicans there breaking bread with us, and um, it's an ugly way to live in there, man. Uh, being being in prison, it does, like you said, it festers up this hate inside. Um, Texas State
I,
Prison was the worst for me with Hispanics hating blacks and um, the division there was just horrible.
I mean, even after all these years of being in prison, I even brought it out here. You know what I mean? I brought my hatred out here. I brought my beliefs out here. Uh, I still was living by the prison code. If you bumped into me, you better say excuse me to me,
Yeah,
or I'm gonna knock your head off. You know what I mean? And I funny thing about it, I went home and I'm washing my own boxers in the shower, and I'm wearing shower shoes in my own shower.
I
You
did
know
that for a year. I did that for a year.
I think the only thing I didn't do was go do my little Cadillac. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah,
think I use my Cadillac anymore. My little line no more. But that's what I for a long time. Even to this day, my wife tells me, You're not locked up anymore, man. You don't got to act the way you act." And it messes you up so much even when you get out because a lot of people don't understand you get the like that post traumatic syndrome, you know what I mean,
yeah,
because the stuff that you've seen in there, because it is war, but there's no rifles and grenades, but it's war, and you see
it's
a lot
worse.
of people get hurt, you know what I mean, a lot of people die. So when I get home, I, I got this big old bed, and funny thing about it is that I sleep on the corner of the bed, almost ready to fall off the bed because that's my little space. Because
That's
in
how you
prison you
slept.
got your little space bed, and that's how I was used to just have my own little space.
Yeah,
And for a long time, and even to this day, I don't allow my wife to touch me when I'm sleeping because if someone's touching you or asleep, then it's got to be your celly, and you know
yeah,
what I mean.
yeah.
So, so my wife said, "I'm your wife." I said, "But when I'm sleeping, I'm not seeing it that way. You know what I mean? All I
Yeah.
know is that someone's touching me, and my mind is still stuck in there. You know what I mean? So you never get better. You just learn to adapt.
Rogelio. So speaking of showers, I in USP Leavenworth and in Terre Haute, Indiana, you had to have a shower buddy when you went to take a shower. For
Right.
did you
We
guys
would
have to do
you would
any of that?
Yes, we did. Before when you every time any of us went to the shower, we had to have a guard in the front strapped with a knife, ready to go watching our back.
With their boots on?
Because
Yeah,
he was ready to go because when you're in the shower, you're at your most vulnerable. You know, you're I mean, you're vulnerable, and so he has to be there as your guard because they have to get through him to get to me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, and it's crazy. You don't have to be a boss or nothing. We're not saying that like we're shot callers or nothing. We're
No,
regular,
anybody.
yeah, regular people, just part of the gang. Going to take a shower, you need to have a shower buddy, somebody watching your back with their boots on, and you never walk to the shower with your sandals on. You put your
You
sand
don't walk in your sandals. Period. In the day room. You know what I
anywhere
mean?
outside yourself. Yeah, I mean, even
I-
in your cell, sleep with your boots on.
you can't. I mean, like where we were raised is half hour, 45 minutes before they even crack the doors. I was already suited and booted
Yeah,
because you never know. Because if you're sitting there, you're barely wiping up the mocos out of your eyes, and you're taking your sandals off, put on your boots.
you're
That
getting
door
hit.
crack. The enemy's on the other side waiting to hit you.
Yeah, it's so crazy. People don't understand that that's really how you live, and it's not all prisons, you guys. Rogelio and I had the privilege to visit these higher end
Prestige.
prisons,
Let's call them prestige colleges.
the Princetons of the federal.
These
We,
prestige colleges.
we didn't just go to college; we went to Yale.
Right, the top
No,
of the
but,
top. The blue bloods.
but you get to your lower prisons, your minimum level custody levels and your mediums, and it's a little more lax. But like we said, we've been in these USPs. Rogelio was in the smooth. I was in the shoe program. Um, and it really is like this, you guys. It's unsafe. You're on edge all the time, and then when you get home is the hard part of understanding that you have to undo what was done in 10 years. Or for your case, how long did you do, Rogelio?
I did 10 in the state, 10 in the feds, 3 in the state.
So in 13 years, and because people, man, 13 years of making what you were, right? And then you
Right.
and then you come out and you still have some of that. So maybe another 15 years of making yourself this person, and then you have to undo and unpack all of everything that's in that backpack, right? One piece of paper at a time. Everything you experienced in there, all the hate, all the feelings that, like right now with everything that's happening, I'm not gonna lie, because this is real talk. It's festering up a bunch of that hatred again in my heart. Seeing, watching the news and everything that's happening, and like I told Gordon yesterday, I've decided and I've taken the step to step back because I see what it's doing to me again, and I feel like that person that was, like you said, in that cell, staring out that small window, shank in my hand, boots strapped up, ready for the door to pop and take off on the first black person that I saw on the tier. And I don't want to be that person, and I can't allow this to happen. So I need to put my focus back on God, back on real talk, and away from the news and everything that's happening, because the same way we get caught up with it in prison by joining the gang, we get caught up with it out here by watching the news, and it throws you in the same royo, right? And it throws you
Right.
in that same state of mind. For me, it does, at
You,
least.
you got to understand, Julian, we are who we are. You know what I mean? Even though that I changed my path and I walk this way, I'm always gonna be that one ghetto boy. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
how to act real ghetto. So, and just because I put that monster to sleep, just because I put that monster away doesn't mean he's gone out of my body. He's there somewhere, put to sleep, waiting. He's in that
ex-
slumber, waiting for something to wake him up. And
exactly.
if we allow him to wake up, then he will control us. He will take over us, and then that's when we start doing the criminal lifestyle. Because that's why it's very important, Julian, to keep God first. You know what I mean?
Amen.
If you're in a marriage, it's the rule of thumb is God first, then your wife, then your kids. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
That's the rule of thumb. You know what I mean? If you put God first, everything lines up.
Amen.
And when you start believing and having faith in Him and start going to man beliefs instead of His
Amen.
beliefs,
Amen.
and then that's when the evil one speaks in your ear, and that's when he starts tricking you, and he starts using what's on TV to manipulate your mind and start playing games with you. You know what I mean? And start brewing that hate because that's what he wants: is brew that hate
Yeah.
because You know, he like, look at the unfairness. Look at this. Look at this. Look what this guy did to this person. Look at this. Look what they're doing to the elote man. They're beating him up for no reason. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? You know, and all of a sudden that prejudice, that hate that you had buried deep inside your stomach somewhere starts waking up. It starts like a root growing out of the ground, like a little plant until it flourishes. And then
yeah,
once it flourishes, that's it.
yeah.
You're on your way back to prison.
This it's dangerous times right now. I've had these conversations with my friends that have done time that are calling me and they're venting to me too. You know, like, yo, man, I don't know, I'm feeling this way again, dog. Like I don't like it. What? And 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 you're right. If you get caught up in it, it does wake up that person and that's
Um,
not a good.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Julian. The last 3 months, I've been battling these demons that are somehow are coming out of nowhere, out of left field. And the good thing that I got good brothers that I can
Yeah,
call on. You know what I mean? And that's very important in this because men as men, we take care of the women, we
yeah,
take care of our kids, but who takes care of the man? You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that's what you need, good spiritual brothers to be there for you. And I
Amen.
got one brother like with Andrew. When I'm going through it, I call him up. I have no shame, no nothing, because we both live both sides of the street, and I
Amen.
let him know what's going on in my head. And I'm like, bro, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do. I'm calling you because I feel weak right now, and we'll sit there and he'll give me his best advice he can give me, and then we pray on it and pray on it, and you know what I mean, I find a way to get through it, and a couple of weeks ago, because I've been feeling this so much. I'm feeling like the evil one has been yapping in my ear, left
Yeah.
and right, in my sleep, in the shower, when I'm eating. He's just been yapping. So I tattooed him. I just got a fresh tattoo that covers my whole neck, the whole back of my head. It's the devil whispering in my ear because I want to recognize that I know. I want him to know that I know that he's there. And he's not going to have no power over me. As long as I know he's there, you're not going to have power over me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once he's there, and he makes me think those are my thoughts, and that's when I lose. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so
Exactly.
a lot of people tell me, "Why did you put the devil on whispering in your ear?" I said, "Because I have to acknowledge he's there. He is there, and he is real." And
Amen.
uh, good thing that I mean, I believe in the Lord so much that I don't allow him to have powers. Yes, he manipulates my life a little bit. He changes the course of my day sometimes, but at the end of the day, I do not follow through with what he's telling me to do.
Amen.
You
Yeah,
know,
and that's
because we went too far. We went too far, Julian, too far to go back to the same. You know what I mean? I can't go back.
yeah.
I'm 45 years old, and I ain't trying to be that old dude in prison talking about when I was 20 years old. I
Oh
told
man,
myself I don't want to be that guy.
I know. I sometimes think I don't know if these men go in there to retire because man,
I can't do it. I
I
can't do it. I
see.
can't sit there talking to the little homies talking about. I remember back in the late '80s, homie.
Oh, I
Get
remember
out,
in the two
get out.
thousands we could smoke
You know what I
in
mean?
here. We could smoke legally, and now we can't.
Uh,
Good. Well, Rogelio, thanks for coming on today, man. Great conversation with you. I can't wait to get you back on. Um, we are. And I don't know if you've heard, but we're doing Real Talk, Real Faith as well. So I'm gonna have that channel going where I want to bring in brothers and just talk faith, and because I know that we all believe in Jesus. We all believe in the same Jesus. And a lot of the times we need to all get together and encourage each other and through our honest conversations. I don't think there's a better way to talk God than with people like us because we've been in the sewer, we've been in the gutter, and we've seen the power that God has to change, like you said, to change people like us that were so full of darkness and all this hate like you said, doing the work for the devil is what we were doing, right? So I don't want
agree.
to get you. I want to get you on that show so we can really get going and get Andrew on it and Gordon and Desiree and we can all just get on there and chop it up. But thanks for
For
coming on.
sure.
You want to give anybody listening last few words of wisdom, and then I'll close out with the closing.
All I gotta say to everybody is, don't give up. Don't give up. Even when the road's high, keep on striving and get to the top because the bottom is way too crowded.
Amen.
And if you need us, it's AGTOCSOW out of Las Vegas. reach out. We got our Facebook page. We got YouTube pages. Reach out to us. We're there to help.
Hey man, if anybody's out there in Las Vegas, reach out to them. Reach out to Cherie as well. Real Talk Youth Impact. You can get a hold of Rogelio there as well. And if you guys want to get involved with his spiritual team, reach out to him as well. And if you guys want to catch all the other episodes, follow us on Real Talk EP on YouTube. And then follow Gordon Watt as well at Real Talk, Real Change, Real Stories. We're doing a podcast on there as well. And as always, I'll leave you guys with love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. And I don't mean the person that just lives next to you, but anyone that is an arm's length away. If they need help and you're there to give it, and you're there, give them help. Love your neighbor. Second thing is let's all pray for our country right now and everything that's happening. And third, as always, show your kids that you love them. Don't just go out and tell them. Show them by disciplining them, giving them a schedule, giving them your ear, giving them your time, and tucking them in at night. Put your hands on your kids. Love them, man. Feel them, hug them. They're not going to be
Amen.
there one day. All right, brother Rogelio, thank you so much. God bless you.
God
Till
bless you
next
too,
time,
brother.
thank y'all for tuning in. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Talk to
All
you.
right, bye-bye.
Bye.